Are you ready? Turn it up! Yeah! Welcome to the noise inside your head. No holding back, we live on the edge. Let's go!
And welcome back into another episode of Sage Against the Machine, the podcast that tells you how it is, bluntly speaking truth to power. I am your host, the former U.S. Senate candidate here in Iowa, Nathan Sage, and I'm joined alongside again my friend and colleague, Dr. Bob Leonard. And if you don't know who he is, he's a retired journalist with bylines in the New York Times, Time, USA Today, and many more publications. He writes at Deep Midwest Politics and Culture on Substack. Dr. Bob Leonard, say hello.
Hello, glad to be here. Glad to be here and learn more about Adam and the work he's doing.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. And Dr. Bob, always with the early surprise of the guest. We got to introduce our guest today. Adam Peters is the Democratic nominee for the Iowa House District 97 after achieving a major political upset by defeating the incumbent in the June 3rd primary. A Walcott native and graduate of Davenport Community School District, Adam has worked in restaurants, nonprofit leadership, and political organizing. He previously served as director of operations at Clock Incorporated, an LGBTQ plus community center, and has spent more than 15 years working with high school students in the performing arts. He lives in Davenport with his one-eyed cat, Herbert Hoover, and is running to fight for clean water, strong public schools, affordable health care, and working families across Iowa. Adam Peters, say hello.
Hello from beautiful District 97 here in Davenport, Iowa.
You know, I knew your cat was named Herbert Hoover. I saw that when you sent the. I've been on chats with you before, and I always laugh because that's a unique, cool cat name. And my cat name has gotten a lot of attention lately. You know how many messages I've been getting recently is because my cat's name is Jimothy, and there's some sort of animal out in Seattle right now, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's your cat." No, it's not my cat, Jimothy, but that's a cool name. I think that's a cool thing to start out on. But either way. Adam, I wanted to make sure I had you on. You are a guy that lights a fire in a room. I when I first met you, I don't even know if you know this, but the first time I was around you, the first time I heard you speak was actually last year, right around this time at the Ankeny, I think it was the Ankeny Democrats barbecue or grill or something that was going on. You were introing people, and I was like, this guy has some spice to him. This guy has some, and you remind me of. What you remind me of is you're very funny, and you remind me of, I have a lot of stand-up comedian friends, and you have this way of speaking where you add this little note at the end that is truthful and blunt, but you say it in a very funny, not in an intimidating way, but in a way that makes people kind of think differently, and I love that type. So excited to have you on. First of all, I just want to give you the floor and say, hey, this is Adam Peters. Adam, tell us who you are, where you're coming from, and what you're doing.
Yeah, so Adam Peters here. First of all, thank you for that intro. Usually I don't get called funny, so I'm going to add that someone actually thinks I'm funny, because most of my friends and family are like, oh, you are so square. So that's awesome. But yeah, so I grew up here in Iowa, Walcott, Iowa, which is right outside of Davenport. I've lived in Muscatine, Iowa City. I did 1 year in LA, and I mean, Iowa is the place for me. And I've lived in Davenport now for 6 years. I went to public schools, Davenport Public Schools. I'm Iowa through and through, and I love my community. I love where I grew up, and ultimately, my foray in politics is to get back to that Iowa that I grew up in, that Iowa where our public education wasn't in the middle of the pack, where we weren't worried about our water and the water quality, where working families were not constantly worried about how they were going to make ends meet or their hospital bills, or if their hospital is even open. So that is why I have taken this step into the life of a candidate. As you mentioned, I've worked on campaigns before, but this has never been a goal of mine. It actually seems quite awful. And working on campaigns and seeing what candidates have to go through and what they have to do, and sometimes the selling of the soul which is what I always used to point out when people were saying to me, "Oh, you need to think about doing, you need to run for something." And I'm like, honestly, I don't want anything to do with that because I just know that people end up losing themselves in it. And I'm glad you point out that I kind of say things how they are, but with a little bit of humor. But they also are very true. That's one thing on my social media. I think my social media does well because I am only pointing out hypocrisy and the lies that we are being told. It is not that I'm going to get on every single issue that comes up. I'm not going to make a video for every goddamn thing that Trump does. It's just not me. I don't want any part of that. But when Ashley Hinson is telling me that she worries about filling up her gas tank, you're not, lady. I'm going to point that out. I'm going to make sure people understand that we can actually have some representation that is more like them than these cosplayers.
And this is why Adam Peters is on the Sage Against the Machine podcast. If you didn't hear him speak right there, you can tell he has the energy that I had. Also, he is fired up about what he sees. What I want to ask you specifically, though, is, everybody always asks me on the campaign trail. Now it's time I get to ask you. Is you were working on campaigns, you were doing things, you've always been involved, but what was that moment? What was the thing, the one issue or thing that kind of just made you go, you know what? It's time. Right now, we got to do something now. What was that?
There hasn't been one thing. It was just needle prick after needle prick of just like this general I just felt like I needed to step up. So first off, the kids that I used to serve at the community center, those kids and what they were facing in schools, in Iowa, the rolling back of civil rights for trans folks, like that is their everyday life. So that was kind of the start. I was asked to speak at one of the local No Kings Day rallies. That was a giant success. There were so many people in my inbox after that being like, why aren't you running for something? When are you running for something? And then just general conversations of folks in my district, an area of like, we don't feel like we are being represented by people that are like us. We do not see our representation. We do not feel our representation in our communities. It's time to have someone new. So it was a whole combination of things. There were just 25 different reasons. And every single time someone asked me like, what was the one thing? I'm like, it's so many reasons.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rainfall where it just seems like all the raindrops keep adding up.
Yeah.
But
like you
yeah.
just have to listen to that drum beat and like it just keeps going and going and going and you either hop in or you miss the chance. I said this already to multiple people. I do not think had I not won my primary, I don't think I would run ever again. Like I just, like I think this was a one-time thing of like, I'm going to step into it. And if it works, great. And if not, I'm going to go back to nonprofit community advocacy. I absolutely love that work. But I was successful. And I think that says where we are at in our, just like where we are as America, where we are as Iowa. We are looking for people to represent us that are like us, that have the lived experience of having to worry about paying your mortgage, paying student loans. I don't have health care right now, and that's just the reality of where I'm at. And I'm worried about that. I'm worried about groceries, gas prices. People are looking for people that feel the pain and are going to fight like hell to make sure that we are properly represented.
That, Adam, I know Dr. Bob's itching to get in the question, but I want to say that is exactly why I wanted to endorse you, because I knew how much you bring passion the way I feel like I tried to bring the passion, because it's not about trying to necessarily inspire people like we do by bringing passion. It's because we're so tired of watching the world that we have grown up in, that the people that we love struggle, the people that we love, really have a tough time in the richest country in the world. So when you have those lived experiences and you watch from your own eyes, you can speak on it with a little bit more passion, a little bit more, a little more cuss words behind you, because you get to that point where you're done. You're just done. And so I understand it completely. Dr. Bob Leonard, I know you know Adam as well. Go ahead with your question and we keep going.
Well, there's a lot for me to work off of here. I just think that representation of people that, have done different kinds of things is really important. That's a lot of, our problems. I've done a lot of things over the course of my life, everything from construction work. I guess I was a waiter. I more likely spent more time being a bartender. But so I understand. I was a taxi driver. I understand working for tips. Like you said, you were a waiter. There's just a different experience that comes from this, and it isn't represented in the legislature, and it's not represented nationally. And the things that, one of the things that I want to say is going back to when you were young and things were better isn't enough. It's not good enough.
No, it's not.
Everything is broken. It's broken, and we've got to, well, like Nathan would say, we've got to build the party back up from the studs. We've got to tear it down. We've got to build the country up from the studs and build upon what was great, recognize what wasn't great and what isn't, and we have to fix it. Everything from health insurance, as you said, to car insurance, to how much we get paid, just every part of it is broken. And so do you think about how some people think, well, we just need to get back to 2010 or something. No, we don't. How do we move forward to fix everything that's broken? And let's just start with everything is broken.
Well, we definitely need to be electing leaders who are talking about those very issues. So this is not a presidential endorsement for 2028. I'm just saying Pete Buttigieg has been talking about some of these structural issues that that we need to focus on and change since 2019 when he ran for president the first time. He's now talking about them again, and we're seeing other presidential candidates start talking about those same things. Expanding the Supreme Court, getting rid of the Electoral College, like talking about these things that need to be changed to move forward and not going back to what it used to be. Those are just like democracy, structural things, but you're absolutely right, Dr. Bob. We need to be talking about universal health care. We need to be figuring out how we can get it done so we aren't one of the only countries that doesn't do it. And like Nathan says, we are the richest country in the entire world. How are we not doing this? How is this controversial? And again, while we need to be swinging for the fences and making these giant changes, we also need to be figuring out how to message these changes in a better way where everyday folks aren't being taught that, universal healthcare is something that is communist or socialist or demonic. President Biden said it best. We are in the battle for the soul of our country, and I still feel it every single day. We have to figure out how we can make these changes, but we have to figure out how we can get more people on board. And I'm excited that more folks are talking about some of the structural changes that are going to be needed to have to move forward as a country. And I think that's a good start. I think we need to make some of those giant changes.
One thing I wanted.
Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
No, you keep going, Dr. Bob. You want to follow up?
So are you mapping this out? Do you have Google Docs on Google Docs sort of thinking this through? Are you mapping this plan out? Because if you aren't, somebody is, and we need to somehow work together to create this. They had that evil Project 2025. It was absolute evil, and it was laid out, and it told us how they were going to destroy democracy and disenfranchise women, gay people, etc. There was a plan. and it was an evil plan. We need a good plan. So, I mean, are you taking notes? What are you doing?
I am taking notes. I'm horrible at Google Docs, so I'm not going to lie to you and say that I've got all the Google Docs. I will say this. We know in Iowa that Project 2025, we were like ground zero. They were running Project 2025 in our state for years before it was like publicized to the nation. Like we have seen those things in this state and how devastating and awful they are. Now we have some Democrats who are saying, Project 2029, we're going to shift everything. Everything's going to be great. And again, I hate that I keep going back to them, but it is what it is. Pete actually said at the Liberty Justice dinner, we need to be looking at it as Project 2050. We have to be thinking for decades. We have to be making exactly what you're talking about, Dr. Bob. We need to be making the plans. We need to be structuring it. We need to be making sure everyone understands what is at stake now and how long it's actually going to take to fix and reform everything. And that is going to not be just this 3 or 4 year cycle. It's going to be decades, not only to fix what has needed to be fixed for the last 40 years, but to undo the damage that the Trump administration has done in their 2 terms in office. That is also going to take so long. So I agree. We need to be combining our minds together, our best resources, our best people to make a clear, cognizant plan for our country. I'm happy to hear so many folks. Kamala's starting to talk about it. Pete's starting to talk about it. We're hearing these folks having these discussions. And you're right, we need to get it on paper.
Adam, one thing that stands out to me is like how much you speak. You remind me of myself and the passion that you bring. And one question that I constantly got asked all the time was, what you're saying is, you feel strongly about this. You feel strongly Democrats need to take control and do. How do you take your passion and your want for correcting and making this world better when you're going knocking doors and you walk up to those Republicans or those independents that are questioning your thoughts and questioning what you're trying to do and aren't sold on universal health care or aren't sold on that we need to help with student loan debt? How hard is that? Because that's the reality that we all face here in Iowa is we can sit here on this podcast and we can talk about the problems we're facing, but there's a very huge population in our state that does not see that because all they see is Fox News. All they see is Tucker Carlson or whatever the hell crazy stuff they want to watch. So how do you break through to that in your experience, especially in House District 97?
So it's actually a conversation that isn't really a District 97 conversation because I will say District 97 is reliably blue. Like in 2024, my prior opponent, who was the incumbent, won his race by 17 points. It's a reliably blue district. So this conversation is actually for District 98, which is right next door, West Davenport. We only won that seat by 40 votes in 2024. It almost went Republican. So that is definitely on my mind when I'm knocking doors in West End Davenport. And also, moving back just a hair, my political beginnings started when I was at college in Decorah, Iowa. I went to Luther. At that time, a funny name senator, Barack Obama, came on the scene and inspired me to get involved with his campaign. They ended up not having me caucus in Decorah. They sent me back to Walcott, Iowa to be a precinct chair and whip the vote in Walcott, Iowa. So that was my first taste of politics. After that, I basically sat on the sidelines for 8 years. We had Obama. Everything was fine. Everything was great. And then Bernie Sanders came on the scene. And I was like, hell yeah, this guy's speaking my language. Like, burn it down, start it over. This, it just really spoke to me. And when he was not the nominee, I supported Hillary Clinton, thought we would be fine. And of course, in 2016, we found out that the country wanted to go into a different direction. Donald Trump. I say all of this because basically I understood in that moment that I did not personally do enough or anything at all besides go to a rally and cheer for the candidate. I didn't actually do the work that needs to be done. So I said, the day after the election, I said, the next opportunity that I get to throw my life on pause and go and help us win and do the right thing and hire somebody in this country that can actually represent us, I will do such. So then when the 2020 election cycle came around in 2019, I did my homework. I went to all the political rallies, Elizabeth Warren, Biden, Klobuchar, the 18 candidates we had. And Pete Buttigieg was the one person that spoke in a way that calmed my passion for a second to actually listen. And I say this because you and I are both very passionate people. We clearly have these very strong ideals that we represent. But at the end of the day, our lived reality is not every single other person's lived reality. And when you live in Iowa, which has tons of rural spaces, the farmer in Marengo, like, is not my lived experience. So we have to go back to a level of listening, of when we're knocking a door, I'm not here to talk at you. I'm here to listen to you and what you care about. Not only what you care about, what you believe and why you believe it. And Democrats aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but we actually have to listen and we have to take the brunt of whatever uncomfortable conversation that is. Not everyone is built for it. I understand that. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to be, but we need to be putting forth our best people that can listen with radical empathy. And then, as I learned on the Pete campaign, we need to be finding the one or maybe even two or three things that can get us in a conversation on an issue. We can find one issue that we agree on with someone that we don't agree on much with. You can find one thing. And from that one thing, that is the basis of every other conversation after. I was thinking about it before I got on the podcast. Like, we need to stop thinking of this like, oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm always voting blue. No, we need to be voting for people who are actually prioritizing us. And if that means that it's a Republican that is championing universal health care, so be it. Like, if that's what's going to happen, okay. We don't have that right now, but we need to get to a place where it's not so tribalistic, vote blue no matter who. It is literally, let's talk about issues. I know you have voted for Trump 3 times. I know you have historically voted for Republicans. What has that done for you? What is that doing for you? Could you think about maybe voting for someone who is actively trying to make your life easier, better, and your family's life better in Iowa? I think those are the conversations we need to be having, and we need to be understanding it's going to take some people that really have to listen to some hard things.
Adam, I'm so happy I got you on the podcast because when you speak passionately, you remind me of myself, and I love it so much. Because one thing that I wanted to talk about today, you know, even after you were off too, is this issue that we have across our political lines, where we have, especially here in the Democratic Party, it seems like we have two factions, where we have the progressives and you have the establishment, and you have this inner argument of where the direction of the Democratic Party needs to be. Republicans had the same thing a few years ago, where they had the Tea Party and how far right they wanted to be and how they wanted to go. And my thought process is always like, doing my primary, I know I ruffled some feathers with things I said, but at the end of the day, I was thinking about this. was I think what needs to happen more than anything in this country and anything in Iowa is we need to elect people that are here to actually serve the people. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, it doesn't matter if you're Republican, it doesn't matter if you're an independent, it doesn't matter if you're libertarian. If their sole purpose is actually to represent the people they're trying to represent, that is what we need more than anything in this world. And I think that is what you're getting on what you're talking about is like this isn't you got to follow me, we're the Progressive Party and we're going to go do this. This is, you know, follow me because I'm the Tea Party, we're going to do this. This is you looking at the world just like I looked at it and going, listen, there's a lot of people that don't have a voice. There's a lot of people that are suffering in this country and suffering in this state. And we need people that are good people that are here to actually represent them. And that is what, for me, is why I love when you speak, because when you speak like the way I speak, you don't beat around the bush. You can tell, Adam, that you mean what you say when you say it, and you think it out clearly when you're about to say it, because you know that you want people to look at you and go, this guy wants to represent me. This guy isn't here because he wants that next political notch on his belt. He is here because the world that he's living in is trash right now for so many people, and he wants to represent them. So that's not even a question. I just appreciate the way you speak because it reminds me of myself, and I wish more and more people. I told Josh this story a long time ago. I said, you want people to follow you? Speak from your heart. Speak from that moment in your that personal thing in your life, the thing that gets you that fired up of why you're here and why you're trying to serve people. Speak that way, and people will follow and people will listen. And I think, Adam, you are a prime example of that. I know that's what Pete Buttigieg, why he endorsed you as well. I think that is a huge thing, is because you have this ability, like I do, to speak from the heart, and I appreciate it so much. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Bob because I know he has more questions.
Well, I have lots of questions. I'm just going to say that I have a Republican friend that's running unopposed, for a district, and he says, I want to talk with you. I want to understand what you have to say. And I know I can talk with him. I know that he will want to seek and understand what I have to say. The problem is, does he have the strength to fight back against other Republicans? And we know what happens in Iowa. If you're Republican and you're independently minded, they will chew you up and spit you out. And so I'm gonna wait a little bit before if somebody says that. I mean, Zach Lane says he's for clean water. I think he's, I think it's bullshit. He doesn't really believe that. Or maybe he really believes it, but he's captured. He's totally captured by the Republican Party. So anyway, that aside, what I want to say is that when we first started talking, what all of us talk about is change, radical change. And one of the things that Republicans always say is, well, how are you going to pay for that? That costs so much. That costs too much. And what we need to say, and Matt Russell and I have been saying this for years in our article and some things that we've done about clean water and agriculture, it's not a cost. It's an investment. Affordable daycare is an investment. Having good immigration reform is an investment. The system is choked with money. There's money everywhere. Andrew Yang told me that when I asked him a question about money. He said, the system is clogged. It's choked. There's so much money. And whenever somebody says, how are you going to pay for that? Universal health care, how are you going to pay for that? Well, it's pretty darn easy. You don't have people going to emergency rooms. Most people my age that I know don't go to the doctor. They don't go to the doctor. They go to the emergency room. So think about healthcare, childcare, public education. Those are investments. And isn't it interesting? Republicans don't have any problem spending money on new prisons
or bombs.
Yeah. So
let's change the narrative. They're investments.
I agree with that completely. And one thing that we need to be better on is pointing out those hypocritical moments where it's like you've been harping on the deficit forever, and as soon as you get a Republican president, it doesn't matter anymore. You've been saying you want people not to take us into these long-term wars in countries we have no place in being, and then you do it. So I agree with you. The investment conversation needs to be a thing. if we think about it, when Biden was president, we've got this incredible infrastructure package that we are still benefiting from. We are still getting projects from that package that are opening in this state. We're getting our Republican Congresswoman, dearest Marionette Miller Meeks, showing up at these events, taking credit for them, yet she voted against it. Like, that is wild to me. Also, just really cool that we're still seeing the benefits of these giant investments that are making our lives better. We literally have the worst bridge quality in the entire country. Like, our bridges are crumbling because we have so many rural bridges in places that, they don't see the upkeep that they need. They've got tractors and all of these things going over them all the time. Like, we need critical investment in these issues. Healthcare, childcare. Oh my gosh, childcare. I had someone come up to me, and this is infuriating, but it's just the truth. I had a woman come up to me at an event 2 weeks ago, and she said, "I'm so excited that you won your primary. I can't wait to work with you. I am a childcare advocate, and to be honest, we get the Republican legislators in this area to sit down and at least have meetings with us, and we have not had any of the Democrats do the same." She said, "Now, the Republicans aren't doing anything for us, but they at least sit down and listen." And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, child care is an easy thing for Democrats. We should be talking about this issue, and we can't even get our locals to sit down with you. I'm going to change that.
One thing I always talked about when I was on the campaign trail and I'd have that hypocrisy all the time was, everybody would always ask, how do you talk to these people who can't see past that hypocrisy? And I think, Adam, you'd mentioned it before you got on. It's like you kind of on your social media tend to love to point out those hypocrisies that we're continuously seeing. And one thing I continuously said was, it was like dating a girl for me. It was like, like I can sweet talk you, baby. I can tell you everything in the world. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna do this. We're gonna rewrite. But at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words, and that's what I want people to understand. Is like, when it comes to these politicians, like, if it seems too good to be true, more than likely it is, right? And you need to like, even me, even Adam, all of us, go ahead, look, research us, learn that and you'll learn that we are decent human beings that are trying to help this world out and help the human beings around us, as opposed to Ashley Hinson, who talks about, banning stock trading, but she has private stock on her own, and she's, well, that's not the same. Well, someone whose net worth went up, to $8 million since she started office, and mine has not gone anywhere. Like, come on, like, we're not living the same life. And I think that for me is like, I told everybody what I wanted to see out of everybody was, I know people are on social media. I know you're on TV, but sometimes you need to step away from that and have human experience with people. And I always told everybody, what I would love is just go out and ask people questions, like your coworkers, the people that are, on the sports team that you're with, the parents or whatever. Ask them questions about, like, hey, it's really hard for me to pay for these cleats that these kids are wearing. How do you guys do it? How do you guys, and just having those general conversations, and you'll realize really quick that everybody's struggling and everybody's trying to maintain this facade that we're not. So you'll understand, like, these people are real people when you have those real conversations. The same way that I want people to do with politicians, like Adam and like you and me, and have real conversations with us to get more depth, as opposed to don't allow the politician to come into your town hall, say what he wants to say, not answer any specific questions. And here's the telltale sign that I will tell you when someone is gaslighting you or somebody is not answering a question. If I ask you a question, Adam, and I say, hey, tell me about climate change, and you go, let's talk about my neighbor Sally, who, and you take this long-winded and you turn it into this long-winded story. It might be a good story that might resonate with some people, but to me, that is deflecting. To me, you're just answer the fucking question, and that's all I want in this world. And I feel so many people do. So I know that's not the question, but talk about that a little bit.
I have something specifically for this, and what you're talking about is authenticity. And
Hmm.
people are saying, "Oh, America wants younger candidates. We want people who are authentic to themselves." It's why I struggle so much watching other politicians try their hand at like going viral or on social media because they're told to do something and they're not being authentic to themselves.
Yes.
When people are like, "Oh, why are you so successful?" I'll tell you why. Because I am who I am. I'm not trying to be anything else. And you should be too. Like, I'm not cool. I've already told you I'm pretty square.
You
Like,
got a cool cat.
I do have a cool cat. But I'm authentic. When I showed up on so many doorsteps, knocking, doorbell, the whole shebang, I didn't sell some idea of like, I'm gonna make your life better. I told the truth. I said, I am running because I care about these issues. I am running because I love my community and I want it to be better. And I'm going to tell you this. Even though I will get elected in November, we are not going to flip the Iowa House. This is not a 2-year project. This is a 4, 6-year project. We need effective leadership up there. We need to be thinking of this in the long term. It's not going to happen overnight. It does not matter what kind of blue tsunami hits America because it's not going to do enough in our state to actually flip the Iowa House. We need Rob Sand in the governor's seat for a veto pen, and we need to be working towards this in the long run. This isn't a 2-year thing. I never lied about that. I just was completely honest, and I'm sure didn't like that, but it's just the truth. Tell people the truth, and they'll believe you because guess what? You're being authentic and you're giving them the real picture of where they're at. Most people do not know who their representative is, and I found that out crystal clear when I was knocking doors. Most people don't know even how the Iowa legislature works.
Hmm.
So, like, don't make it hard, but just be honest. This isn't working for you. It needs change, and it needs to not be a 2-year focus of, oh, we'll just give it to the same person that has done it before. No, like, we need to invest in someone that has a long-term vision. I also said this. Multiple people were like, this is just the beginning of your political career. And I'm like, honestly, I want to be in Iowa. There is no like stepping stone. Like I'm not trying to go to DC. I'm trying to live in Davenport, Iowa, have a better quality of life. And hopefully in 6 to 10 years, I have done something in that capital that has changed this state so I don't have to continue doing that. This is not a job. This should not be a forever job. I should be stepping up saying, hey, I want to try to change things and do good by this state. And if I can't do good in a decade, get me the hell out of there. Get somebody else in. I'll be happy to step aside. Like, this is not what this is. And we have clearly gone wrong somewhere because people are treating this like it is theirs forever. The power, the money, although not in the Iowa legislature because we get paid peanuts. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it grabs a hold of people and they just are like decades they're in there for. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, I got asked all the time. How do we know, Nathan, when you get there that you're not going to take the money and run? And it's and that was always infuriating for me because it's like I've never had money, and it was always like I just want freedom. Like I want to be able to. I always still have a house in the middle of nowhere where me and my wife could walk outside naked, no one would see us. Like that was the big thing for us, and it's like that is so many people across the state, so many people across this country are so used to seeing the same thing over and over and over, because these people that they're voting into power aren't there to serve the people. They're there for the next notch on their belt. And I said that's the main reason why I ran, is because we're so tired of watching that. And I love everything you're saying, Adam. I appreciate you so much for coming on. Dr. Bob, do you have any more questions for Adam before we move on?
Well, normally I would ask, how can we help you? And maybe I'll still ask that. I mean, you're running unopposed. Is there, I guess, helping you, I mean, giving you, platforms, sharing your social media. It's about the bigger message. So anything that we can do to elevate your voice is how we can help you. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That is perfect. Also, I still am going to be activating not only District 97, because District 97 is Eastern and Central Davenport, but we have West Davenport. Davenport is a part of the Quad Cities. We've got Nikhil Wagle in Bettendorf, who's running for state senate, that we're looking to flip. We've got some incredible candidates running for House in the area that need our help. George Pickup. We've got Karen Roebuck, Keith Soko, Andrew Fitzgerald in 98. I'm going to be hosting events with these folks. So money still does help me. I'm putting the money forth to help this entire area. And I clearly have activated enough people across the state to be paying attention to this area. And we have to capitalize off that. And I look forward to doing that in the next 105 days until the election and afterward. Because again, this isn't a cycle. This is our lives every single day. We are going to need to be rebuilding this state, our Democratic bench, and this country. We have to stop thinking of it in cycles. We need year-round organization. We need year-round organizers. That takes money, that takes talent, that takes time. So yes, uplifting, money, and yeah, come knock a door. Why I love Josh Turek is he said, hey, how can I help you? And he came and he knocked doors. And any candidate, anyone that has been on a campaign with a candidate usually knows when a candidate comes and knocks doors, they knock 4 or 5 doors, they get the picture, they get the video, they're on their way. And that's fine. Candidates' time is important. I get that. Josh Turek came to Davenport before the primary, knocked a packet of 30 doors with me, and did every single door. It was the most incredible door knocking experience I've ever had in my life. Not only because those conversations were supercharged with 2 candidates, but when we were going from door to door to door, people were coming out of their houses that were not in our turf. They were seeing that Josh Turek was rolling down the street and they wanted to come and meet him. And that was happening over and over. And the conversations that he had and just random people, he'd be like, we need to go talk to them. I'm like, let's go. That is why I just love Iowa. I love some of our amazing candidates that we have, like Josh, Rob. We have such an incredible opportunity to do good by the state with really awesome, authentic people. And I'm excited to help in any way that I can. And yeah.
Adam Peters, Iowa House District 97 candidate. Dr. Bob, you got any more questions? No?
Just your website, if you could share that so they can support with money if they
Yeah. AdamForIowa.com, and it can be the number 4 or FOR. Both go to AdamForIowa.com.
Adam Peters, House District 97 candidate. I appreciate you so much, my friend, for coming on, having a good time. I always like to ask people, give me a sales pitch of yourself, but every time you talk is a sales pitch. You get me. You're the only, honestly, I'm going to tell you this, you're the only candidate that I've listened to speak that gives me goosebumps when you talk all the time. It's just, you have that passion in you. I appreciate you so much for being a part of Sage Against the Machine podcast. We'll try to get some of those if you got suggestions for people to come on, send them my way and we'll see if we can get them on as well. As long as they bring in a passion like you, we'll have a good time. But I appreciate you so much, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been a blast.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll let you jump off and we'll keep going.
Thanks, guys. This is awesome.
Thank
So
you.
great to talk to you. This time went by so fast.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Yeah, it does every time. I appreciate you.
All right, we'll see you later.
Bye
See you.
bye.
Bye. It was a good interview, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, great job.
Let's get into the headlines and then we'll go from there. I want to talk more about the headlines about Andrew Tate and Mike Johnson than I do about the war, but I'm just going to bring some stuff up about that, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Three, two, one. And we're back with Sage Against Machine podcast. Again, thank you to our friend Adam Peters, Iowa House District 97, for joining us. That was a great time with him. Every time we get a chat with Adam, it's a fun time. I suggest if you get a chance, check out his website, get out there, support him. But if you get a chance to listen to him talk, go, because it is always a great experience. You feel the passion that he has for Iowa and for his House District and for the just doing the right thing like I did, and I appreciate him so much. But time to get into our headlines that matter, the national headlines that are standing out that usually get me pissed off is usually what happens, because it just seems like every day that we live in this country, another headline pops up that makes us go, what the fuck is going on? That is what is happening every day, and so we got to get to those headlines. First headline I have is U.S. military operations against Iran continue to expand. The United States, has continued military strikes against Iranian-backed targets following attacks that killed 3 additional American service members in Jordan. The conflict has reignited debate over Congress, war powers, rising fuel prices, and the risk of border regional conflict. And here is my quick thought before we get into anything, Dr. Bob, that is driving me nuts about this Iran war. I've seen on social media, I have not looked into it, but I've seen on social media different things that are saying that the Trump administration, most namely his children, are profiting off this war because they're investing in drone stuff and whatnot. And it goes back to what we saw last year with the stock market going up one day and down the other day, one day down the other day, where it's a chance to buy stocks at lower prices, get them high again, sell them, and continue on. It seems like a game that is going on, and that's what I see right now with the Iran war. The only thing that is really sick to me is they're profiting off of literally Americans being killed, and it doesn't seem like any remorse or any problem with that. I don't think anybody's really mentioned much about these service members being killed as much as they had the first time, and because it became old news. And that is what is sickening to me, is like this war that should not be going on, that the president himself said he was not going to go into endless wars, is now doing, specifically so they can make money off of it. And that is what is disheartening and sad to me, but not surprising. And that's why I don't feel as much rage as I feel, mainly because it's just what we've been seeing. Dr. Bob, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's tough to direct our anger in so many places. I mean, the Trump corruption is it's just unimaginable. Who would have ever thought that could happen? We've always known that there were war profiteers, but to have the president's family, profiting and manipulating markets and, doing strikes, having all this information, but, the loss of life, the unnecessary loss of life of our soldiers and sailors, Marines, and the loss of Iranian lives as well. And throughout the Middle East, it's just sickening. And, I listen to, MAGA media all of the time, and they never mentioned that we had a deal with Iran and nuclear weapons that Trump tore up. They never mentioned that Trump said that their nuclear capabilities were totally destroyed. They never mentioned that. Then we had to go to war again. I mean, there's just so much. It's a constantly moving target. And so I guess we have to trust that the American voter will wise up. I know Republicans are getting concerned about the war. People are feeling it in their pocketbooks. I don't know how, we talk about these pocketbook issues, but for some reason, just the morality and the cruelty and that we don't think about that. Oh, people get outraged over, a dime's more worth of gas, but these young people are dying. They're losing their lives, and all you can think about is the price of gas. And I know that's important, but I think we need to keep the big picture in mind too. And Republicans are getting concerned about the war, how it's going to impact them during the midterms. And something I read this morning that was very interesting is Lindsey Graham has passed away. I'm not going to comment on that. I've written about it. But Lindsey Graham was one of the major architects of this war. He talked Trump into it. Now, his sister is going to fill out his term, and she's running to get the job for the next session. But she's telling Trump, you've got to end this war. She went, to media saying that she's not going to be like her brother, that she's saying that you're going to pay the price for this war. And I think that was a significant moment. And so let's just hope that people recognize that people listen to her. And I haven't read in detail about it, but that's what I read this morning. It's just the American people don't want this. Something like 68% of people disagree with it. We'll just see.
What you said there struck a nerve with me really quick. I try not to get in my emotions about it, but the girl that was killed in Jordan, I saw a picture of her, and I saw what stood out to me. I don't know her age. I'm assuming she was probably 18 or 19.
19.
And she was a private. What that tells me is she's a newbie. She doesn't have like in the military, in the Marine Corps, if you were new, they called you a boot because your boots have more time in service than you did. And I hated that. All of us hated it. And that's what she was. She was a boot. And you mentioned there that, people care more about gas prices going up 10 cents than they do about what's going on in Iran or what's going on with people dying and they're dying. And somebody like me who served 3 times over there in Iraq, and that is one of the main issues, and I know we trash on Graham Planner, but he talked about this as well, is one of the main issues for service members coming back is, and I'm going to be blunt as hell right now, no one gives a fuck. No one cares. I went over there 3 times. They care when I'm a candidate, but when I was a nobody and I was just driving my car down the road, people don't care. They don't care. They care more about what's in front of them in their life. And I'm not mad at them for feeling that way, but it's hard for me, and it's hard for family members who have people over there to watch this administration and watch these people in Washington, D.C. talk about war. Like what's driving me nuts. I know you've seen it, Dr. Bob. I've seen it. The commercials for war.org. Have you seen those commercials? Okay. Yeah. Where you're trying to say strength with power or whatever the fuck they're trying to do. It's glorifying war for people that don't have to fight it. And that makes me sick to my stomach that we are sitting here talking about gas prices and we need to open the Strait of Hormuz and we need to have oil the way it is, while people who are serving this, who served our country, are serving our country because they don't have the opportunities to go to college. They don't have the opportunities financially to support themselves. They're trying to give themselves a better life, are over there dying because this administration is literally profiting off of them dying. And we sit here and we're like, people get outraged about gas prices. Like, why are we not so angry every day that our service members are in this front lines of a war that shouldn't be going on to begin with, as you just mentioned? And that is my frustration constantly with Republicans or independent people that think that war is like. When I came back from Iraq the very first time, one of my people that was close to me at the time said, "Why don't we just turn that place to glass?" Because there's human fucking beings there. It's easy for Americans to sit on the sidelines and throw snowballs from the cheap seats. It is not okay to sit here and watch this administration do this, and it's just frustrating for me. I know I'm beating a dead horse, and it's like I feel like when I talk about this, it makes me mad. I feel like when I talk about this, no one fucking cares. And it's just Nathan getting mad again, or it's just another, and that's the shit that pisses me off, because it's like people are literally dying, their lives are changed forever, their families are changed forever, because some jackass wants to be able to make money off of going to war and making it a cool fucking thing. That is why I said the rich kids playing in their backyard with GI Joes, because they don't know what it's like at all to suffer an ounce of, you know, anything wrong with them in their entire lives. And I'm just tired of it. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted that, because I think people need to keep an eye on this Iranian war, and how many times we're going to say, hey, we solved it, we have a peace deal, and then how many times it reignites, because at the end of the day, it's about making the stock market change, and it's about profiting off of people's backs, and that is what is disgusting to me.
And
I know
I
you didn't got
think,
anything.
well, I just think that, people are talking about Trump's just going to declare victory and walk away. I don't think so. There's too much more money for him and his kids to make.
I agree.
So we'll see. And he doesn't care about what happens in the midterms. He doesn't
I
care
just
about what.
I just worry about, like, I know that the troops are out of Iraq, are going to be out of Iraq. I saw that by I don't remember exact date, but I just worry that we continue to disrupt the world in this way, the Middle East in this way, and it's just going to come back to haunt us down the road, which we've seen many times through terrorist acts and whatever. And I just feel like like in my mind, I'm just like, it's weird because I'm a Marine, it's weird because I'm a soldier, it's weird because I was always gung-ho to go, but it's like, it's weird because it's just like, when are we get to a point where we're just like, you know what, we're not benefiting, our country is not benefiting necessarily off these wars. The people that are in charge and rich aren't benefiting, and they're spewing their information out there so that you can be blinded by their bullshit. And I just want to know when America will wake up to it. I hope one day we do, and we don't continue doing this. And I think that's been said many times, from the Korean War to Vietnam War to Desert Storm to Iraq. Like, many times have we sat there and going, why do we keep doing this? It doesn't get us anywhere in the long run, and we have problems at home where we can't even afford to put food on our table. So I just hope that we get somewhere someday where we're not talking about endless wars anymore, and we're actually talking about the way that Americans are coming together. That would be my dream headline. Moving right along, though, let's get to our next headline. This one, really, Dr. Bob, I put this specifically on here because I wanted to hear you rant about this. So this is national headline. Andrew Tate and brother Tristan face new criminal allegations. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan Tate were arrested in Miami on July 18th after British authorities requested their extradition to face a new set of criminal charges in the United Kingdom. The rest are part of a long-running international investigation involving allegations of rape, human trafficking, sex exploitations, and organized crime. What's new? The British prosecutors recently filed 38 additional charges against the brothers, combined with earlier allegations that Tate now faces 59 criminal charges in the UK involving 7 alleged victims. The alleged crimes date back from 2010 to 2017. And here's what I wanted to say really quick is these guys put themselves up there on social media as these, toxic masculinity. They want to show that they're the boys, they're the alpha male, all this shit. And we just talked about Graham Plantner a couple weeks ago about how allegations, 9 out of 10 times, the allegations are true. And so we have 59 criminal charges, not just allegations, criminal charges. But here's what I want to tear them down and what I want to destroy them is these people, again, Dr. Bob, they talk about being alpha males and being this muscular guy and this guy that can stand up and tell people, women and whoever else, to fuck off and all this crazy just rhetoric, right? And you and me can't stand this because me and you talk about this a lot where, you were a construction worker, you were a wrestler, you were a guy that knows how tough this world is. I served in the Marine Corps, I served in the Army, I grew up tough and understanding that, I always say in the trailer park of Mason City, but also the north end of Mason City, like, it's a hard place to grow up. And it's not hard as a lot of people, but it's harder. And what are your thoughts when you hear these jackasses who rape women and degrade people talk the way they're talking about trying to be alpha males when you're, in fact, Dr. Bob, you yourself know what it's like to be an alpha male, not by trying to project yourself that way, but just because every day that's what you need to do to survive?
Well, I just think it's bizarre in the sense that, there's a long history of men like this. There's millennia of history of men like this, and that they're often celebrated. I mean, our entire culture treated women as property until relatively recently. I mean, this
Hmm.
is millennia leading, an evolutionary trajectory pointed directly at creating these kinds of men. And it's part of the patriarchy. And and its roots are, really deep and biological, and, it involves sexual dimorphism, that men tend to be bigger and stronger than women. So it has that biological root. But then the patriarchy demanded it. It demanded subservience. And then capitalism and the patriarchy demanded it, demanded victories, demanded punishment, demanded defeats. The Western powers went around the world crushing other people and empowering men like this. And so the legacy for men is long. I mean, it is long. I mean, there's probably still statutes I know there has been in my lifetime statutes on the books in, one southern state at least, that you could still beat your wife as long as the stick wasn't, bigger than an inch thick. I mean,
Hmm.
so they're just sort of the inevitable consequences of it. And there's going to be outliers like that. But now what it is we've identified what to call them and how to take them down, I hope, by calling them the Trump Epstein class. And so this is how we recognize what they are, and that now it's not okay that this trajectory has led them here. It's part of the failures of the human race that created this, and it's time to be stopped. It has to be the death of the patriarchy. And that means that the patriarchy and the men that are involved that are acting out this way, they need to be controlled. They need to be, brought to justice. And we need their victims to be able to be compensated, to be able to speak, to hear their voices. I just think that it's this long, inevitable process that led us here, and that all of society is starting to fight back against it. And we're making great strides in the 70s. We were making great strides up until Trump. Then Trump gives a permission structure for every boy everywhere to be an asshole and to demean women and minorities and anybody that they don't like, anybody that's a little bit different from them. And it's also, if you're bigger and stronger, that's your license to treat people poorly. We weren't brought up that way. We were brought up to be strong and tough and be able to, do what needs to be done, or at least know when you try to do what is right. But we were also taught to be gentlemen and to
Hmm.
be kind and respectful. And if we weren't kind and respectful, there would be consequences for it. These guys, including Trump, never had to be responsible for anything. Now it's time to hold them responsible. And if if somebody says, "Oh, it's been," if they criticize me for saying, "Well, it's millennials," time for that, millennia, thousands of years created this, and so that justifies it. No, it does not justify it. To say so, that would be the naturalistic fallacy, that just because it has been natural for a long time, which means that it was commonly accepted, that doesn't make it right. And so now we have to take it and we have to make it right. And we have to raise our boys the right way, be good role models for our girls and for our boys. And hopefully, culturally, we will reject these people, and that someday it'll be, seen as and when we hold them responsible, including people like Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, the Tate brothers, Graham Plattner, when these people are held responsible, then we can say that this was a good step toward a future that respects everyone.
Dr. Bob, that was well said. I don't even have to follow that up because that's exactly what I was thinking. I think, at the end of the day, we have to, people like you and me, men in general, middle-aged men like myself, especially middle-aged white men, need to do a better job of policing our own and saying what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and being able to listen to people and not always be judging and saying, well, when a woman says that this happened, to sit there and automatically go jump to that point of like, well, prove it. I think at the end of the time, we need to do what we say we're going to do. Actually listen to women and actually listen to people that are that the real victims in this world. And people like Andrew Tate and these people that think it's okay to be, toxic masculine and be tough and whatever. We all know that's a fake facade. We all know that that is for social media clicks. We all know that is not who they might be that way when we're around those people raping people, and that's what they're going to get. But at the end of the day, we need more people like us to continue to step up and say that this is not okay. And the easiest way to get somewhere is to have the people that you wouldn't normally hear step up and say it. So we got to keep doing that. That's what we're doing here on this podcast, speaking truth to power, and we'll continue to talk about that. I wanted to get to another topic here. This one's an Iowa headline, but I want to make it more of a national headline as well and talk about it from a national perspective as well. So House Speaker Mike Johnson condemns Democratic Socialists at Iowa Christian gathering. House Speaker Mike Johnson criticized Democratic Socialists during an Iowa Christian gathering, framing the 2026 election as a choice between conservative values and socialism. And here's what I really want to say really quick is I listened to, first of all, I want to say, give a shout out to Laura Bell, and I love her and what she said. I saw a clip that she was talking about why I don't even know why the Iowa Democratic Socialists call themselves Democratic Socialists, because they're not real socialists, because they believe in having their own house, and what they don't believe all the things that go along with socialism. It's kind of just this little niche, I hit my mic, this little niche. And my thought right off the bat is I've met a lot of people across the campaigning. I've met a lot of people that say they're socialists or say they're Democratic Socialists. And my thought is simply like, why are people dehumanized, talked down to, treated like shit, treated like they don't matter, treated like they're crazy, treated like they're stupid for literally wanting better for all? To me, I understand a lot of these people's mentalities, right? I understand this idea of we're all in this together. Something I've talked about from a working class. We need help. We need real help. And what Lauren said was simple, like that they want more of these social safety nets put back in place, because that's what we need in this world to survive and make it. I agree 100%. And that is my take is like, I think it's crazy that we live in a world where we're demonizing people for caring about their neighbors. Like it blows my mind that we are doing that, and we're trying to, and they're using the words they're using specifically to try to target that. And it's like, I'm lack of a better term, I'm flabbergasted, Dr. Bob, because I cannot believe, like, in this world at all, people would be so upset about people trying to take care of other people. Now, I understand the Red Scare, I understand communism and all the propaganda bullshit that you were fed when you were young, Dr. Bob, and everything that everybody grew up with, and the trials, and everybody, dealing with all of that in the 50s and the 60s and so on. I understand that. But we are in a world right now where so many people don't have the necessary things they need to survive in this world, that they're turning to trying to figure out how we can come together to get those things so that we can survive. That's what this is. That's all this is. And it fucking drives me nuts that we keep having our boot-licking politicians like Mike Johnson come to Iowa and spread that bullshit out and trying to keep this division alive. And I'm not sitting here jumping on a socialism bandwagon. I'm not doing that. I'm just simply saying that there's people in this world that care about other people and are trying to do all they can to serve them and help them and make this world better for all of them. And for some reason, they're getting shit on. That'd be like shitting on Jesus, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, all these people. It doesn't make any sense to me. Dr. Bob, try to enlighten me.
Well, let me just try to make it as simple as I can. Speaker Johnson, first I would tell him, and you know this, there's nothing conservative about MAGA.
Yes.
There's nothing, and I am a lapsed Lutheran, but I remember my Sunday school lessons about feeding the hungry, healing the sick, welcoming the stranger. And I will also say there's nothing Christian about Mike Johnson. There's nothing conservative or Christian about that whole movement. And so they can talk about socialism all they want, but it's a red herring. It's to piss people off. There has to be a new, I've heard this somewhere on a podcast or something. There has to be the new boogeyman. Okay. So it has to be somebody to hate. But so the bottom line is they don't even know who they are.
It makes me laugh, honestly, when you see the clips you see on Fox News, or you see the social media posts where you see, like, can you believe it? This candidate over here, he wants health care for people. Can you believe it? He wants affordable housing. Can you believe it? He wants child care that isn't affordable for people. Like, yeah, motherfucker, that's what we fucking want and what we need. Like, come on. And they're trying to demonize that. And it's insane. And what's more insane, Dr. Bob, and what bothers me more and what hits me at my core and punches me in the heart is there's people in this country that just follow it blindly, that go, man, could you believe they want health care for all? What would that do to me? Well, give you health care? Like, it's so fucking stupid. And I'm so tired of these conversations. Here's how I feel about the Democratic Party. I feel like when the Democratic Party has factions in it, people in it that just view the way to get to the finish line in a different way. Some people view, like, we need to do this quicker, we need to do this faster. Other people view it this way. I'm not going to say specifics, but in general. And that's the same way that you had in the Republican side as well. And we sit there and we talk about MAGA and the far right and the radicalization, and they try to do the same thing to us on the left side. But at the end of the day, I don't view the far left as radical when they're just trying to fight for people's to live. Like, it's like someone having your foot on their neck and then they're going, I can't breathe. That is what they're the people on the bottom going, I can't fucking breathe. That's the world we're in. And we're sitting here listening to this jackass come to Iowa and say this shit. And it just, I see, you can tell when I get passionate, I get more cussy. But it's just like, I'm just done listening to this crap. I'm sitting here going, like, I don't, like I said, I view my beliefs the way I view my beliefs. I view things on the right. There's some things that I agree with, some things, that's how I've always been. I like to look at the whole world like that. I don't like to just demonize certain factions of a political party or whatever, because like the reason they're demonized is the only reason they're doing that is because it's the only way they think they can get votes. It's the only way they think they can stay in power is to use fear to continue to divide us. And Mike Johnson, stay the fuck out of Iowa. All these crazy radical people, get the fuck out of here. We're tired of this crap. I pray that so many people across Iowa see it for what it is, and we can, like Adam Peters said earlier, have that blue tsunami to come through and make things right the way we need them, just to be able to afford everyday life, just to be able to live longer, just be able to raise a family. You wonder why so many people don't have kids aren't having families anymore. It's because they can't afford it. And it's like, how long, Dr. Bob, do we have to keep talking about this over and over and over and over for people to understand that this is it's not me speaking fucking words. This is everyday life for all of us. There's a difference between a family two people making $100,000 a year and being able to support their family, and people who don't have an education making $40,000 to $50,000 each. It's still a harder life when groceries and gas continue to go up, and we need to look at that as a human element and going, like, it's not about politics, it's not about government, it's not about any of that. It's about human decency. It's about human beings being human, living a human experience, and we need to treat them as human beings instead of getting lost in this rhetoric and this crazy bullshit and this social media and these Fox News clips and all this crap. And so I could cuss on that all day long, but I appreciate you laying it down pretty good about Mike Johnson. I do want to get to, we're running quick on time. You got anything else to say on that before I get to my
real quick? Mike Johnson is a weak man.
Absolutely.
Donald Trump is a weak man. The
Absolutely.
Tate brothers are weak men.
Absolutely.
The problem is they have power, and we have to take it away from them.
Yep. And do you do that? How do we do that? Through everybody coming together and showing their strength together. That's my opinion.
Yep.
Now we'll get into what is making Nathan cuss, my rant for the week of what's making Nathan cuss. So I am a guy that spent three deployments to Iraq, 2.5 years of my life. The highest temperature I ever saw when I was over there, I believe, was like 126. I can't remember, because here's one thing they don't tell you about heat, Dr. Bob, is when you put a digital thermometer outside in that heat, sometimes they overheat and you can't actually read what the temperature actually is. So that's what we had in Iraq. But my thought process is right now is it is too damn hot outside. Okay. We understand that most of us in the Democratic Party, most people in general, understand that climate change is real, right? And we are seeing temperatures rising. We're seeing more issues going on, but we are also seeing this administration trying to rip all that away, destroy the EPA, make it where we can continue to have fossil fuels. We continue to have the things we need to make sure that they have billions of dollars while all of us suffer. And here's what I'm talking about when all of us suffer. All of us suffer, meaning all of us in the working class that are doing the work to make this country keep going. As in when COVID happened, we were the essential workers. Now all of a sudden we're just get out there and fix the fucking road. That is how we are treated. That is how many people across this country and working class, it doesn't matter where you come from, what your life story is, they are treated like absolute bullshit. But we have cooling stations for when it's hot out here. We hey, don't turn your AC up to turn it to 78 so we don't overpower the infrastructure that we have in our power grid. While we're also having politicians doing all they can to put data centers in our backyards to increase our electric output higher by 10 to 30% more, which is going to cost more money across all of us to have to pay more. So not only are we working in the heat, not only are we trying to keep this country going, not only are we being demonized for trying to just put food on our table, but we can't even have the AC where we want it set, because at the end of the day, we have politicians and billionaires caring more about making sure they continue to have money by putting data centers wherever the fuck they want to, instead of actually making it where we can actually live this world, right? Like we have in Iowa, we are, I think, the number 2 or number 3 state for wind farms. And all we got for how many damn years was wind farms cause cancer and they're a nuisance and all this other bullshit. Well, at the end of the day, what are we doing? What are we doing, Dr. Bob, to make this country better infrastructure-wise, to make sure that we, at the working class, have the things we need in the richest country to survive? Meaning, to be able to have the AC set at a certain temperature so the elderly aren't literally dropping like flies. To make it where we can actually go out and work and be appreciated for the work we're doing by keeping those roads open, by keeping the infrastructure, by keeping this world moving and keeping our economy rolling, despite the heat, despite all the stuff. So, what is making me cuss? Yeah, the heat makes me cuss, but what makes me more cuss is the people in power that don't give a flying fuck about people that are working every day. They want to complain about smoke in Canada. They want to complain about issues going on, but they have no idea what it's like to live in a world where you're just trying to make it each day, and the heat makes it 100 times fucking harder. So that's what I'm cussing about today. It is the heat, but it's more about the people that don't give a crap about us just trying to make sure that this world goes on. The unsung heroes of the world, that is the working class. The people that get you your coffee, the people that fix the roads, the people that teach the next generation, the people that are just trying to make it by, they are the unsung heroes, and the heat makes it 100 times harder for them. So the one thing I ask, if you're listening to this and you have to drive slowly through construction, you have to turn your AC to 78, or you have to wait on somebody to give you your food or whatever it is, just have a little bit of patience. Just have a little bit of empathy to understand that this world is not is not working for everybody, and we need to make it a little bit more tolerable. So be a little bit more kind, be a little bit more patient, and just be a good fucking human being, and we won't have a lot of the issues we have. That is what's making me cuss today. And that is something that will always make me cuss every time I get hot. I am a guy I'm from North Iowa, Dr. Bob. I care. I enjoy, call me crazy, I enjoy the winter more than I do the summer, even though I've gone to the desert many times. That is my rant for today. Dr. Bob, you got anything before we end this episode?
Well, yeah, I think it's a really good point. I mean,
I know you've talked about it a lot.
The Trump administration is not doing anything to help. They don't care. You're absolutely right. And, as somebody that's worked outside, day in, day out, month in, month out, I recognize how it gets to you, and in the heat and in the cold. To me, the cold is worse when I was working construction in the winter. So they don't care, and it's to the point, and it's the cruelty that gets that the Republicans impose upon working people is just incredible. And I don't have the specifics of the law or how it turned out, but in Texas, they don't care. And here's an example. There were mandatory in hot weather, there was mandatory water breaks.
Mm-hmm.
There were mandatory breaks to get in the shade. Greg Abbott and Republicans in the legislature thought that was too hard on business. that having the workers get drinks was too hard on the business. So they took away the rules and the regulations to get people in the shade or the drinks. And the cruelty is unimaginable. It's also economically short-sighted, because if you start killing your workers or you're not letting them drink and their productivity, diminishes, it's just stupid. And that's just it. These people, they have their overall plans to remake America into a state, a country run by oligarchs, where they're extracting as much as they can out of us. They're at the same time, they're really stupid about it. And also at the same time, for some reason, their cruelty either goes unnoticed or underreported. And so
Absolutely.
That's in part the media's fault.
One thing I want to say really quick, what you said right there, that I think that, like, for instance, I think what the end game is for them by pushing this cruelty and trying to do all they can to just go fucking work and listen to us is like what we got, Dr. Bob. You get used to it. Like, you get used to the heat, you get used to the cold. Not saying it, you get used to it, but it's like you learn how to adapt. You learn how to not complain about it. You learn how to tolerate it. But tolerating it still is not, it's not okay, right? Like what I'm saying is like the amount of pain that you, like when Dr. Bob, when you walk, I make fun of you all the time because you shuffle, right? The way you walk, the issues that you have with your health, you can look back at your life of all the times you just tolerated it and how that adds up. And how you can't go, like, especially from a working class perspective, how people who have to tolerate it because they don't have the money to be able to go to get the help they need, tolerate it to the point where till they die. And that is what I'm talking about specifically when it comes to this cruelty, is this: they don't care if we live or die. They don't. They just want your vote so they can stay in power, so they can keep making money. So I beg you, everybody who's listening to the Sage Against the Machine podcast, if you listen to Adam Peters, if you listen to me speak, please keep putting your thoughts and your process and keep putting your backing behind people that are here to serve other people, that are here to make this world better for other people, not just themselves. The more we can continue to do that, the better opportunities we have in this country for not just us now, but our future generations. Because the way I look at this, Dr. Bob, I don't think we're going to fix things in the next 20 years the way they need to be. And I'm going to be getting older, and you're not going to be here anymore. And we need people that are younger to come up to see us set this example of, we are here for the next generation. We are here for so many other people. The way I looked at it from the military perspective is, when you go to an area, you clean it up and you leave it better than when you were there. You leave it better than what you had it. And that's what I want to do in this world. And that's why I'm doing this Sage Against the Machine podcast. That's why all these people are coming out and trying to do that. Get behind those people. Get behind people that care about other people, and we can set this world straight, and we can have a better opportunities. Again, thank you, Dr. Bob, for joining us again, being on the show with us. Thank you to Adam Peters, Iowa District 97 candidate. Check him out. Check his website out. He'll put a spark under you. But want to also preview, we're going to have a great guest, Dr. Bob, next on Thursday, we got Chris Jones, Democratic candidate for Iowa Secretary of Agriculture. And you know that means we're going to be talking about clean water and the issues we got in water and the issues in farming across the state. So I'm excited to have Chris on because like Adam, Chris can get very passionate. I've seen him get very passionate at a speech in Iowa Falls. So I know it's going to be a good time. That's going to be coming up on Thursday at 5 p.m. Just another shout out. We are on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Substack. You can find us everywhere. Please, the thing that we need more than anything, we had some clips get out there. They got a little viral, but we need subscribers. We need followers. We need people to like, comment, and share our material and keep sharing the word that there's people out there that are at least trying to do all they can to make sure that the working class is taken care of and properly represented in a blunt, honest manner. So appreciate you, Dr. Bob. Anything else?
You keep making fun of my shuffle. I just might have to come over and kick your ass.
Well, I laugh because in the Marine Corps we used to sing shuffle, 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 the Marine Corps shuffle. So every time I heard you shuffle, especially on the radio, I'd have that Marine Corps cadence pop in my head.
You better watch out, you whippersnapper.
Yeah, pretty soon I'll be shuffling my way too. But either way, thank you everybody for tuning in. Check us out again on Thursday with Chris Jones. Until then, catch me on the flippity flip.